Hey, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to check out the scene from Braveheart and just really contemplate what this teaches us about real success and, just, how do we measure our lives, the success of our lives, right? Because a lot of people, they have this idea that, at least in today's world, that your success comes from how much money you have, how much success you have, or different accolades and your reputation and how famous you are or whatever. But this scene from Braveheart, I feel like, really teaches us the value of a human life. What the power of the human spirit. What does that mean as far as you know how do we actually measure our effect in this world, right? Because I think that's what we're all here for. So let's, without further ado, let's go ahead and watch this scene and see what it teaches us about the human spirit. Because I think this scene teaches us more about the human spirit than what a lot of people even learn in an entire lifetime. I think they condensed that into just a few seconds in a film, right? There was a lead up to this where he's been captured, and there he's going through an execution, unfortunately, because he's been betrayed and he's fought for his country, he's lost everything, and here he is, and he is going through the process of being executed, and the executioner is telling him, hey, they've already put him through a series of stuff. They've pulled out the insides of his stomach. They've torn out his limbs. He's gone through different amounts of torture, and they're saying, you know what, we'll finish it right now for you. You don't have to suffer anymore, right? You don't have to suffer anymore. All you have to do is ask for mercy, and in asking for mercy, you're it's a way to get you to submit, right? It's a way to say, you know you win, I lose, right? And 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 they're trying to use the fact that he's going through so much pain and torture, to make him submit and to make him erase his message, right? And so they're saying, hey, just say mercy, and we'll finish, we'll draw this to an end for you. You don't have to suffer anymore. Just say mercy, right? And that's where this scene starts off. We're going to go ahead and start it about halfway through. Check it out. I think this is one of the most powerful scenes in film history, right?
Merci, William. Merci. Jesus, mercy.
So, no, his friends his friends want him to say mercy. Everybody's saying, just, just say it, right? And so he's summing up his strength to say something.
The prisoner wishes to say a word.
So the executioner thinks that he's going to ask for mercy. So he's saying, hey, everybody be quiet, right? Because he's going to ask for mercy. And the executioner thinks this is his moment. This is the moment where victory is finally won, right? And so everybody's, listening up to hear him say mercy, to end the suffering, right? About to say it. Summoning up strength. Oh, and he says freedom, right? He says freedom. He doesn't say mercy. Um, he asks, he puts his message out there, the message that he's been fighting his whole life for, right? And even in his last moments, he's not going to sacrifice, um he's not going to water down his message. This is his opportunity, his last opportunity with his last dying breath, right? To get his message across, right? And instead of saying mercy, he has the whole crowd listening, and he says freedom. He wants freedom for his country, for everything he's fought for, right? Really touching scene. Everybody can just get an idea of, you know, how could he do that, right? How could he have so much strength? He's lost everything, right? He's lost his wife, he's lost his friends, he's lost his country, he's been betrayed, and now he's losing his life, right? And all he needs to do is just ask for mercy, and all this suffering can be put to an end. But instead of capitulating and submitting, he's defiant for his values. He's defiant for what his life has stood for up to this point, right? So that's the real message, is that true victory comes from our spirit and our ideals, not just from winning a battle, because he's clearly lost this, right? He's not the winner here. um but in reality, of course, the end of the story is that you know they in real actuality, in real life, they cut his body up to pieces. I believe they put his head in one city, they put his arms in one town, he put his legs in another town. But the message that they're trying to get across actually works against them. They think it's going to intimidate people, but it actually unites people, because William Wallace would not sacrifice his ideals, even in defeat. And that's how you win, even when you're losing, right? And that's the power of the human spirit, really, right? So, I hope that makes sense. In your own life, in our own lives, what that teaches us is, it's not just because you win on paper that you've actually won, right? I mean, a lot of people, um they they will water down their message, they will water down who they are, right? They will live their life in a way that isn't true to who they are and to what they think and what they believe, because they want approval of certain family members, or they want support financially from somebody. So instead of standing up for what they believe, they just go ahead and live the easy life, right? But that life is not a life of courage, right? That life is not a life of real truth, of your message, of who you are, of what you're trying to live for, right? And people notice when you have courage. People notice when you make sacrifices for your ideals and for what you believe in, right? And that's really the power of this message, right? So, um, real victory comes from how you carry yourself and how you live your life and the courage that you have, right? That's the lesson that we're taking from Braveheart, from this scene. So I'd like to know, what's one message that's taught you something in your life? What do you guys want to listen to? What's the next film you guys want to check out? Let's go ahead and watch the end of the scene. So here at the end of the film, he finally gets peace. Um, he knows he's lived a good life to his last dying breath, and I feel like that's something that we can all live for is, how can we, till our very last breath, every ounce of strength, just pour everything that we can into our life, right? And that's what this is about, right? That's the message of the saint is, he knows that he's going to go in peace, and that, his whole life, he put every ounce of his being into the fight that he was fighting, right? And that's a life well lived. So remember, watch, learn, and live.